CGS-CIMB Research sees the possibility of a 22-cent per share special dividend from the sale of Affin Bank's 63% stake in its asset management unit, Affin Asset Management. CGS-CIMB said in a research note today, the bank expects the proposed disposal to up its Common Equity Tier 1 CET1 capital ratio from 13.9% at end March 2022 to circa 16%, higher than the industry's CET1 capital ratio of 15.1%. Assuming its CET1 capital ratio post-disposal is lowered to the industry's 15.1%, CGS-CIMB said it estimates a special dividend of 22 cents per share, which would translate into additional dividend yield of 11.2%. In May, Affin Bank said it intends to pay a special dividend to shareholders upon completion of the stake sale, which will result in a gain of 1.063 billion ringgit for the lender. In its note today, CGS-CIMB upgraded its call on the stock to add from hold previously, given its best-in-sector loan growth in FY22 and potential special dividend. The research house trimmed its earnings per share forecasts by 2 to 4% for FY22 to 24, as it increased its assumed share base to 2.21 billion shares to factor in the 88.3 million new shares issued under the dividend reinvestment plan. This pushes down its target price from 2.19 ringgit to 2.17 ringgit. Affin Bank shares closed 1.55% higher at 1.96 ringgit for a market capitalization of 4.34 billion ringgit. FGV Holdings says it will proceed with the recruitment of 1,210 workers from Indonesia as part of the company's earlier arrangement, despite Jakarta's temporary freeze on sending migrant workers to Malaysia. The planter said it is waiting for further instructions from the authorities for the workers' future recruitment arrangement, though it will go ahead with the recruitment of the 1,200 over workers as part of its earlier arrangement. It said in an email statement to The Edge that this will help to reduce the current shortage of 30% or approximately 10,000 migrant workers in the group. FGV was responding to The Edge's queries on how Indonesia's freeze on sending its workers to Malaysia will affect FGV's foreign worker hiring process and operations. Last Wednesday, Indonesia said it had temporarily stopped sending its citizens to work in Malaysia, citing a breach in a worker recruitment deal signed between the two countries. Citing Indonesia's ambassador to Malaysia, Hermono, Reuters reported that the rift was over Malaysia's immigration authorities' continued use of an online recruitment system for domestic workers that had been linked to allegations of trafficking and forced labour. Malaysia's trade remained brisk in June, boosting second quarter total trade, exports and imports to new record highs. According to the Department of Statistics Malaysia, imports grew 49.3% to 124.2 billion ringgit from a year earlier, due in part to higher purchases of processed food and beverages, mainly for household consumption. Exports rose 38.8% to 146.2 billion ringgit from a year earlier, fueled by strong demand for electrical and electronic products, petroleum and palm oil-based products. Total trade recorded a growth of 43.4% year-on-year in June to reach a new high of 270.4 billion ringgit, while trade surplus shrank by 0.8% to 21.9 billion ringgit. As for the second quarter's year-on-year performance, total trade rose 32.7% to 730.4 billion ringgit, exports jumped 30% to 394.2 billion ringgit, imports expanded by 36.1% to 336.1 billion ringgit, and trade surplus shrank by 10.6% to 58.1 billion ringgit. Genting Malaysia's unit, Genting New York, ranked fourth among top spending lobbying entities in the state last year, with $1.898 million forked out for the practice. This is according to the 2021 annual report by the state's Joint Commission on Public Ethics, JCOPE. According to the report, Genting New York's lobbying focused on gaming and was among the many filers who were involved in the state's third most lobbied bill last year, the New York Senate Bill S-2509. The bill was signed on April 19, 2021 and provides, among other things, for the regulation of sports wagering and mobile sports wagering and implements a tax on sports wagering gross revenue. In terms of lobbying entities ranked by payments to retained lobbyists, Genting New York tops the list with $1.898 million paid to 7 different retained lobbyists. Shares in Genting Malaysia were up 0.35% to RM2.83, giving the group a market capitalisation of 16.8 billion ringgit. Cybersecurity company Surfshark says Malaysia was the 11th most data-breached country in the second quarter of this year, with over 665,200 Malaysian users affected during this period. This is based on the company's analysis of millions of breached accounts from April to June this year. It said Malaysia has seen 44.2 million accounts leaked since 2004. According to Surfshark, East Asia saw the most spikes in number of breached users quarter-on-quarter, with Japan growing by 1,442%, China by 1,092%, South Korea by 1,013%, and Malaysia by 733%. At this rate, users in Malaysia are experiencing a breach of 5 accounts per minute from 1 account in the previous quarter. Surfshark data researcher Agnieszka Sablovskaja said that in Malaysia, 138 per 100 people are affected by data breaches versus 64 out of 100 in Southeast Asia. Statistically speaking, she said an average Malaysian has been affected by data breaches at least once. According to Surfshark's latest monthly update, Russia was the most data breached country in the second quarter, with 28.8 million leaked accounts, followed by India with 4.4 million, China 3.4 million, Brazil 3.2 million, the US 2.3 million, and South Korea 1.8 million.